Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Naresh Mago and with me is Prashant Kumar Sinha with the evening news. The headlines. Campaigning reaches its peak in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry for assembly polls. More than 7 crore 30 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. Centre asked states to set up containment zones and micro-containment zones and to ramp up tests to break the chain of COVID-19 transmission. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan approves National Policy for Rare Diseases 2021 to lower high cost of treatment. India's exports rise 58.23% to $34 billion in March. CBSE not to reduce syllabus for students of classes 9 to 12 for academic year 2021-22. In Chhattisgarh, 5 security personnel killed in an encounter with Maoists in Bijapur district. Bangladesh announces countrywide lockdown from Monday due to sharp rise in corona cases. Indian para-shuttlers ensure themselves of 17 medals in Dubai Para Badminton International Tournament. And in tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty of Australia to take on Canadian Bianca Andreescu in the Miami Open Women's Singles Final tonight. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, follow all the precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Campaigning has reached its peak in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry for assembly polls. Campaigning in the 3rd and final phase will come to an end tomorrow evening. The 8th phase election is being held in West Bengal, while Assam is witnessing 3-phase assembly election this time. Voting for the 3rd phase will be held on the 6th of this month for 40 seats in Assam and 31 seats in West Bengal. On the same day, single-phase polling will also take place for assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry. 140 assembly constituencies of Kerala, 234 constituencies in Tamil Nadu and 30 assembly seats in Puducherry will go to polls. Besides the by-polls to Kanyakumari Lok Sabha seat in Tamil Nadu and Malappuram parliamentary seat in Kerala will also be conducted simultaneously. Senior leaders of various political parties are holding rallies in the 4 poll-bound states and a union territory to woo the voters. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed election rallies in West Bengal and Assam today. Holding a rally at Tamulpur in Buxa district of Assam today, Prime Minister Modi urged militant outfits to shun violence and to contribute in making an Atmanirbhar Assam. He also mentioned that the government is working to implement the Assam Accord. He also assured to intensify development work in the state once the election process is over.
बीते 5 वर्षों में डबल इंजन की एनडीए सरकार ने असम की जनता को डबल फायदा दिलाने का प्रयास। असम में हो रहा विकास यहां पर कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ा रहा है। असम में हो रहा विकास यहां पर लोगों का, महिलाओं का जीवन आसान बना रहा है। असम में हो रहा विकास यहां पर नए अवसर बना रहा है, नौजवानों के लिए अवसर बढ़ा रहा है। ये काम हमारी एनडीए की सरकार ने किया है।
Among others, Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal and Union Ministers Jitendra Singh and Anurag Thakur too addressed rallies. AIUDF President Badruddin Ajmal addressed a rally at South Salmara. Senior Congress leader Bhupesh Baghel, Ripun Bora, Pradyut Bordoloi, BPF President Hagrama Mahilari and Ahom Gana Parishad leaders are also campaigning.
In West Bengal, campaigning for the 3rd phase of assembly elections has reached feverish pitch. The canvassing will come to an end tomorrow evening. Polling will be held on the 6th of April in 31 assembly segments of Hooghly, Hapra and South 24 Pargana districts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Trinamool Congress leader and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and star campaigners of CPM and Congress-led Sanyukt Morcha Alliance addressed election rallies and held roadshows today in poll-bound areas. More from our Kolkata correspondent.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed election rallies in Tarkeswar and Sonarpur. He alleged that TMC government blocked the implementation of several center-sponsored schemes depriving of people of Bengal from several benefits. Mr. Modi said only BJP has clear vision of development of Bengal, so it is called for Sonar Bangla. On the other hand, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee alleged that the BJP is trying to disturb communal harmony of the state. Trinamool chief said the BJP wants to usurp power by hook and crook. Another senior leader of TMC, Yashwant Sinha, said in Kolkata that BJP is showing its desperation after completion of 2 phases of polling. Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said people of Bengal want alternative of BJP and TMC. So this time their choice is Sanyukt Morcha. Dharmendra Kumar Rai, AIR News, Kolkata.
In Tamil Nadu, campaigning is reaching a crescendo with various leaders crisscrossing the districts across the state. Senior BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah held a roadshow in Chennai along with BJP and alliance candidates. In a public meeting held at Tirunelveli, Mr. Shah accused the Congress and the DMK of being selfish and corrupt. Campaigning in various parts of the state, DMK leader N.K. Stalin accused the AIA-DMK for compromising the interests of the people of Tamil Nadu by surrendering to the centre. More from our Chennai correspondent.
Electioneering is in full swing in the state. All the political parties are making their last-minute effort to woo the voters. Though the Met Department had issued a warning of the prevailing heat wave, parties are not willing to leave any stone unturned, also making sure that they reach every nook and corner to meet the voters. The allegations and counter-allegations have created a mood for the voters to assess the choice of their candidate. Tamil Nadu has seen a lot of star campaigners from all over the country for electioneering. Political analysts consider this election as a crucial one for the future of the state. With Diksha, Joy, AIR News, Chennai.
In Kerala, as the campaign for the assembly polls will end tomorrow evening, all the major fronts have intensified their campaigning process across the state. More from our Thiruvananthapuram correspondent.
As Kerala gears up for the polls on April 6th, heated political debates are ongoing in the state. While speaking at the NDA election campaign in Wayanad, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said that the LDF and UDF in Kerala are pursuing a policy of appeasement. Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman accused that both the fronts are committing corruption and violence in Kerala. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi alleged that Kerala has high unemployment rate and the state's economy is in crisis. He further said that UDF has a clear plan for the future of Kerala. Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan defended the allegation, saying that Congress and BJP leaders are trying to spread a false image of Kerala. Meanwhile, the state police chief Loknath Behra said that all security arrangements have been completed for the smooth conduct of assembly elections in the state. Mayur Shah for AIR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
In Puducherry, in view of the general elections, the Election Commission has issued various standard operating procedures for the last 48 hours. More from our Puducherry correspondent.
In a press communication, the District Magistrate Mrs. Purva Karg informed that for smooth conduct of elections in a free and fair manner and strict enforcement of a model code of conduct, Section 144 CRPC has been invoked. The unlawful assembly and movement, holding public meetings, carrying of weapons, sticks, banners, placards, etc. by any person, and also shouting of slogans and using of loudspeakers and acting in any manner that is detrimental to public peace in the entire Puducherry district is prohibited from April 4th, that is tomorrow evening 7 p.m. till April 7th morning 7 a.m. Further, bike rallies are also prohibited from today evening 7 p.m. to April 7th morning 7 a.m. However, door-to-door campaigning is allowed during the period of 48 hours. Chandra Mohan, AIR News, Puducherry.
The Election Commission today reduced the period of debarment of senior BJP leader and Assam Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma from holding any poll campaign and media interaction from 48 hours to 24 hours. The Commission had earlier barred the BJP leader for 48 hours from campaigning and interacting with media over the violation of the Model Code of Conduct. It had condemned his remarks in which the leader had threatened Bodoland People's Front Chief Hagrama Mohilari. The Commission has now reduced Mr. Sarma's period of debarment after receiving a representation from him in which he tendered an unconditional apology and assurance of abiding by the Model Code of Conduct.
Over 7,30,54,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered in the country so far. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 30,93,000 doses were given to beneficiaries in the last 24 hours. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 93.36%, with a total recovery of more than 44,000 people in the last 24 hours. The ministry said over 1 crore 15 lakh people have already recovered from this disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is over 6,58,000, which comprises only 5.32% of the total positive cases. More than 89,000 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported in the country in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 23 lakh. The Health Ministry said 714 deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours, taking the toll to 1,64,110 across the country. The Centre has asked the states reporting a surge in COVID-19 cases to increase testing and setting up of containment zones and micro-containment zones to break the chain of transmission. It has also asked them to take immediate and high-effective measures to ensure containment of active cases and daily deaths through adherence to the standard clinical management protocol. 11 states and union territories, including Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Delhi, Haryana and Chhattisgarh, have been categorized as states of grave concern on account of the rising daily cases and higher deaths. Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba yesterday chaired a high-level review meeting with Chief Secretaries, Director General of Police and Health Secretaries of all states and union territories. The states have been asked to increase testing continuously to ensure that positivity comes down to 5% or less. During the meeting, it was stressed that the message of Dawai Bhi, Kadai Bhi should be effectively and profusely spread through multimedia and multilateral forums. During the meeting, Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan highlighted the current trajectory of COVID in the states and union territories, while Information and Broadcasting Secretary Amit Khare showcased ways of effective behavioral change communication to instill COVID-appropriate behavior among the populace. Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul emphasized the need for states to follow a protocol for sharing clinical and epidemiological data for more detailed study of the mutant strains of the virus for genome sequencing.
Over 3,500 new confirmed cases of coronavirus infection were reported in Delhi during the past 24 hours. With this, the total number of positive cases have reached 6,72,000. The Delhi government informed that in the last 24 hours, more than 2,900 people have recovered and 10 deaths were reported in the city. Over 6,48,000 people affected with coronavirus have been cured so far. Presently, the total number of active cases in the national capital is 12,647. The overall global COVID-19 caseload has surpassed the grim milestone of 13 crores as the pandemic is still raging, while the deaths have surged to more than 28 lakhs, according to the Johns Hopkins University. In its latest update this morning, the university's Center for Systems, Science and Engineering, CSSE, revealed that the US is the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases at over 3 crore and deaths at over 5,54,000. Brazil follows in the second place with over 1 crore 29 lakh cases and over 3,28,000 fatalities. Other countries with more than 20 lakh confirmed coronavirus cases are India, France, Russia, the UK, Italy, Turkey, Spain, Germany, Colombia, Poland, Argentina and Mexico. The CSSE figures showed. In terms of deaths, Mexico comes in the third place with 2,666 fatalities. Nations with a death toll of over 50,000 are India, the UK, Italy, Russia, France, Germany, Spain, Colombia, Iran, Argentina, Poland, South Africa, and Peru. Amid a sharp rise in corona infection and deaths over the last several days, Bangladesh has announced that a countrywide lockdown will be imposed from Monday. Our special Dhaka correspondent has filed this report.
Following up the announcement of a countrywide lockdown in Bangladesh starting from Monday, the Railway Ministry has suspended all passenger train services once lockdown is imposed in the country. However, freight trains will run as per normal schedule. After the announcement of the lockdown, people were reported to be leaving the capital city Dhaka for their respective hometowns and villages. There was a bigger rush in shops also as people prepared themselves for the lockdown. In the meanwhile, Bangladesh reported 5,683 fresh corona positive cases and 58 deaths on Friday. Rajesh Jha, AIR News, Dhaka.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Campaigning reaches peak in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry for assembly polls. More than 7 crore 30 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. Centre asks states to set up containment zones and micro-containment zones and to ramp up tests to break chain of COVID-19 transmission. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan approves National Policy for Rare Diseases 2021 to lower high cost of treatment. India's exports rise 58.23% to $34 billion in March. CBSE not to reduce syllabus for students of classes 9th to 12th for academic year 2021-22. In Chhattisgarh, 5 security personnel killed in an encounter with Maoists in Bijapur district. Bangladesh announces countrywide lockdown from Monday due to sharp rise in corona cases. Indian para-shuttlers ensure themselves of 17 medals in Dubai Para-Badminton International Tournament. And in tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty of Australia to take on Canadian Bianca Andreescu in the Miami Open Women's Singles Finals tonight. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
The Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan approved the National Policy for Rare Diseases 2021 on the 30th of last month. The policy document has been uploaded on the website of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Our correspondent reports that different stakeholders have been demanding for a comprehensive policy for prevention and management of rare diseases for quite some time. The Rare Diseases Policy aims to lower the high cost of treatment for rare diseases with increased focus on indigenous research with the help of a national consortium. Increased focus on research and development and local production of medicines will lower the cost of treatment for rare diseases. The policy also envisages creation of a national hospital-based registry of rare diseases so that adequate data is available for definition of rare diseases and for research and development. The policy also focuses on early screening and prevention through primary and secondary healthcare infrastructure such as health and wellness centers and district early intervention centers. More from our correspondent.
The policy also aims to strengthen tertiary healthcare facilities for prevention and treatment of rare diseases by designating 8 health facilities as Centre of Excellence. These centres will also be provided one-time financial support of up to 5 crore rupees for upgradation of diagnostic facilities. A provision for financial support up to 20 lakh rupees under the umbrella scheme of Rashtriya Arogya Nidhi is proposed for treatment of those rare diseases that require one-time treatment. Beneficiaries of such financial assistance would not be limited to BPL families. The benefit will be extended to about 40% of the population who are eligible under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Suparna Saikia, AIR News, Delhi.
Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal has thanked the Rail Parivar for their dedication and stupendous efforts and breaking almost all records in the COVID year. In a letter addressed to all, Mr. Goyal said the Rail Parivar has emerged victorious in the wake of the unprecedented crisis due to their grit and determination. Our correspondent reports the minister also remembered the loss in the Rail Parivar during the pandemic and said it would never be forgotten.
When we were sleeping in the comfort of our homes, there were people on tracks. When the nation came to a standstill, railwaymen never took a day off. They worked even harder during the difficult times and at a great personal risk to keep the wheels of the economy moving. Be it uninterrupted supply of essential goods, be it coal for power plants, be it fertilizer for farmers or food grains for the consumers across the country, it was railways at the forefront. 4,621 Shramik specials were run to unite families. Over 63 lakh stranded citizens reached their homes. Kisan Rail Services became the medium to connect Annadatas directly with bigger markets. 1,233 million tons of originating freight has been loaded, which is the best ever for any year. Besides, over 6,000 rail route kilometer of rail electrification works has been achieved in the last financial year. Needless to say, the nation would always remember the selfless contribution of Rail Paribar in its collective fight against COVID-19. Saubhagyakar, Air News, Delhi.
The News Services Division of All India Radio in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight will bring you a special discussion program on COVID-19. Dr. Gautam Khatak, Head of Dentistry, RML Hospital, New Delhi, will participate in the discussion. This can be heard tonight on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards.
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla has tested negative for COVID-19. In a tweet, Mr. Birla said his COVID report is negative and he is fit and healthy now. He also expressed gratitude to all well-wishers for praying for his good health. Last month, during the budget session of Parliament, the Speaker had tested positive for COVID-19. Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, has said that the government will change all normal bulbs of 40 to 60 watt capacity with LED bulbs in a few years from now. He said in the past 6 years of the Narendra Modi government, 2 billion normal bulbs have been replaced with LED bulbs. Addressing Sri Ram College of Commerce Business Conclave through video conferencing, Mr. Javadekar said this initiative will not only help in reducing carbon emission but will also save energy. He also mentioned that India is one of the leading countries in renewable energy and at present the country's renewable energy capacity is 136 gigawatt. Mr. Javadekar informed that India has already reduced its emission intensity by nearly 26% and it is committed to cut it by 35% by 2031.
India is only 3% for carbon emissions over last century or 2 centuries. So we are not responsible for climate change. But because we are suffering, because we are vulnerable, and in any such crisis, in any such disasters, who suffers? The poor. And therefore, we have to be doing more actions to save ourselves.
India's merchandise exports in March 2021 increased an impressive 58.23% to $34 billion as compared to $21.49 billion in March of the previous year. Exports during April to March 2020-21 were $290.18 billion as compared to $313.36 billion during the same period of last year, exhibiting a negative growth of 7.40%. India's merchandise imports in March 2021 were $48.12 billion as compared to $31.47 billion in March last year. This is an increase of 52.89%. Merchandise imports during April to March 2020-21 were $388.92 billion as compared to $474.71 billion during the same period of last year, exhibiting a negative growth of 18.07%. India is thus a net importer in March 2021 with a trade deficit of $14.11 billion as compared to trade deficit of $9.98 billion. This is an improvement by 41.4%. Talking to AIR News, economist Naveen Gupta said that turnaround in merchandise exports is remarkable.
Merchandise export in the month of March has increased by 58% on year-on-year basis to 34 billion, which is a record for any month. Similarly, import value is also impressive at $48.1 billion. And the most impressive thing is that the core exports other than petroleum and gem and jewelry has increased by 61%. Furthermore, export of gem and jewelry has grown by 75% and engineering goods export has increased by 70%. This shows that the COVID worst is over and supply side is responding to picked up private consumption, which shows economy's resilience in wake of fresh surge of COVID cases.
The Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE, has decided not to reduce the syllabus for the students of classes 9th to 12th for academic year 2021-22. The board has released the new syllabus in which the chapters and topics that were removed in the last academic year have been restored for the upcoming academic session 2021-22. Official sources said the reduction in the syllabus was a one-time measure only for the 2021 board examinations. Last year, the CBSE CBSE had rationalized the syllabus by up to 30% for classes 9th to 12th for the year 2020-21 to reduce the course load of students in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. The students who studied the reduced syllabus will appear in examinations in May to June of this year.
In Chhattisgarh, 5 security personnel were killed and 12 others injured in an encounter with Maoists in Bijapur district of Bastar region today. Police have recovered the body of a female Maoist from the spot. More from our Raipur correspondent.
Following specific inputs about the presence of Maoists in the South Bastar area, security forces launched an intensive search operation from yesterday. Nearly 2,000 personnel of CRPF Cobra Battalion as well as District Reserve Guard and Special Task Force were deployed in this operation. The Maoists ambushed the security forces near Junaguda village in Jagargunda area on the border of Sukma and Bijapur district at around 12 noon today. The rebels opened fire at the security forces, leading to the fierce gun battle. The encounter lasted for about 3 hours. After the incident, additional reinforcements were rushed to the spot. Vikalp Shukla, AIR News, Raipur.
And now news from the world of sports.
In tennis, defending champion Ashley Barty will meet Canada's Bianca Andreescu in the women's singles final of Miami Open tonight as per Indian Standard Time. In a semi-final match, the 8th-seeded Andreescu defeated 23rd seed Maria Sakkari of Greece 7-6, 3-6, 7-6 in a rain-interrupted match, while top seed Barty comfortably beat Ukrainian Elena Svitolina 6-3, 6-3 to seal her berth in the final. In the men's singles, 26th seed Hubert Hurkacz has set up summit clash with Italian teenager Yannick Sinner tomorrow, while Poland's Hurkacz defeated Russian 4th seed Andrei Rublev 6-3, 6-4. Sinner rallied past 7th seed Spaniard Roberto Bautista Agut 5-7, 6-4, 6-4 in the semi-finals. In men's doubles, Croatian team of Nikola Mektic and Mare Pavic will meet British pair of Dan Evans and Neil Skupski in the finals tomorrow. In women's doubles, 5th seed Japanese pair of Ina Shibahara and Shuko Aoyama will lock horns with 8th seed Brazilian-American team of Luisa Stefani and Hayley Carter in the title clash tomorrow. In the BWF Para Badminton Tournament, Indian para shuttlers today ensured themselves of 17 medals in the 3rd Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum Dubai Para Badminton International 2021. The tournament is being held at the Shabab Al Ahli Club in Dubai. Leading para shuttlers Pramod Bhagat, Manoj Sarkar, Sukant Kadam and Nitesh Kumar, Krishna Nagar, Manasi Joshi and Parul Parmar all made it to the last 4 stage in their respective categories. Barring Bhagat, all of them have ensured 2 medals each in their categories. Bhagat, Palak Kohli and Prem Kumar Ale have ensured themselves of 3 medals each after having made it to the singles, doubles and mixed doubles semi-finals in their categories. Reshma Tiwari from Sports Desk.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. The temperature will hover between 13 and 36 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a partly cloudy sky. Chennai will have a heat wave with the temperature varying between 27 and 42 degrees. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Srinagar will witness a generally cloudy sky with light rain. Jammu will have a partly cloudy sky towards afternoon or evening. Leh will have a partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature will be -4 while the maximum will be 10 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have a mainly clear sky. Muzaffarabad will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain. The temperature will hover between 12 and 28 degrees Celsius. President Ramnath Kovind has greeted the nation on the eve of Easter. In his message, Mr. Kovind said, the festival commemorating the resurrection of Jesus Christ is celebrated with joy all over the world. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Campaigning reaches its peak in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry for assembly polls. More than 7 crore 30 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine administered in the country so far. Centre asks states to set up containment zones and micro-containment zones and to ramp up tests to break chain of COVID-19 transmission. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan approves National Policy for Rare Diseases 2021 to lower high cost of treatment. India's exports rise 58.23% to $34 billion in March. Bangladesh announces countrywide lockdown from Monday due to sharp rise in corona cases. Indian para shuttlers ensure themselves with 17 medals in Dubai Para Badminton International Tournament, and in tennis, world number 1 Ashley Barty of Australia to take on Canadian Bianca Andreescu in the Miami Open Women's Singles Final tonight. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.